Welcome to Linetalkers Radio, Week 3. This is Kenny Adams, and I'm the host. I thought I was going to be solo today. I have Jessica Hendrickson going to help me. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Kenny. I'm looking forward to the discussion today, and I appreciate the opportunity.
You and I have talked about these subjects quite a bit over the last, 4 or 5 months. Beyond that, you and I have talked about the future of the electric utilities, and yes, we do have nerd talk about the business all the time and about what the future holds for electric utilities. Today's episode, I want to talk about a couple 3 articles that I found online that I thought were interesting. The first one is from the New York Times, and it talks about in England, due to the coronavirus, that the demands are so low for electric usage. Did you see this article about what they're doing?
Yes.
They're actually paying people to use electricity.
That's exactly right. That's the way that I understood it.
Yeah, that's insane.
Negative electricity prices for residential.
You and I came from California, utility on the West Coast, where the rates were decoupled. Energy efficiency was king. That's how they made their money, not off electricity sales, which if you're not in California and you're not in a state where the rates are decoupled, you need to really Google it to learn about it, because growing up in the Southeast United States, I still can't grasp the whole decoupling of rates, and you don't make money off more power that you sell, and it's messed up in my mind. But in England, this article in the New York Times, it came out a couple weeks ago, about how they're paying people to use electricity. And what this comes from is that there's so much generation and there's not as much usage that they don't have anywhere to go with their green power. There's so much green power, solar and wind. Is that the way you understood it?
It is, and that they actually have decreased their dirtier types of energy with the coal production. That's pretty much non-existent, at least since March.
And that's, I think some of it was due to when the lockdown started in March, all the factories and plants and everything and all the businesses shut down in England. So they were having to do something with electricity, which, a lot of people don't realize when you have turbines, either gas-fired turbines or diesel peakers, you're able to throttle those. But with green power, it's either on or off. Solar's on or off. Wind machines are on or off. Nuclear's on or off. It's either full speed ahead or full brakes. And I think rather than take the units offline, they opted to keep running them and then just pay people to use electricity, which I would encourage that here in Florida, because you and I have a lot of discussions about the AC and about the temperature. Right?
Yeah, true.
I always say it's job security, but I'm not really sure why you don't see it that way.
A couple of things about this article that I thought were pretty interesting was that the oversupply, the production stayed status quo with their generation, even though the demand decreased because the manufacturing facilities were not in production during COVID. And then people started working from home. They didn't really see the peaks that they were used to. They're trying to figure out how to stabilize their system. And the challenges then with that come into how they're going to make money. What I thought was kind of cool was that Octopus Energy was taking advantage of this, being innovative by offering to pay some of the customers to consume energy in periods of slack demand. I thought, well, why would they do that? Well, there's got to be something else that's being tested or data calculated as a result of this. As we go into the other 2 articles, I think the pieces kind of tie together we continue our conversation. So by them paying the residential to use energy to consume, I think they can capture data on how quickly can they consume this compared to what we're used to seeing out of our manufacturing facilities. And then probably be able to start compiling some information on how to stabilize their system as they look into the renewable energy. I think they had it dialed in previously, but now that more and more we're going with solar, how do you kind of calculate the consumption rate and then also making sure you'll have that demand when needed? That was just kind of a takeaway.
Yeah, long story short is, first of all, I don't think I would ever want to work for a company called Octopus Energy. and second, you're exactly right. The challenge for renewable energy, which I never have thought about that, is that they really have a hard time matching supply and demand, unlike other types of generation. That was the first nerd article that we went through, but the articles get better. The next one that we looked at was an article from England, and it was about that they have actually deemed a company that we're familiar with here in the United States an official electric utility there. And this article comes from Electric Tech, was dated mid-June, I think. And I'm just going to read this verbatim from this article. Electric, is it Electric? ELECTREK.co. Tesla has officially been approved as an electricity generator like an electric utility by local authorities in the UK. Today we learn the Gas and Electricity Markets Authority has approved Tesla's application, which I thought is very, very interesting because at no point does Tesla, in my mind, plan on running generation and power lines like we know them today. In you reading this article, what are you getting out of this?
What I got out of this is that when we currently think about generation, it's very stationary, right? You have a set location where you're going to generate power. What's interesting about here is I think with Tesla doing what they've done with Solar City in California and how they're trying to improve the storage of it, you can generate in a mobile way. Could you package up your energy, ship it to another country, and then generate it?
Never thought of that. Honestly, I never thought of it that way, that that generation could be mobile. If generation is mobile, then that would eliminate a lot of the need for the infrastructure that we manage and maintain today across the nation and across the world with transmission and distribution systems. I thought this article was very intriguing. I do think there's a couple sentences in here that are open to interpretation. In this article, it says it's still unclear why Tesla needs to be approved as an energy generator in the UK, but I think Tesla could finally be expanding its solar products, especially solar roof tiles, to international markets. Then it says, but it might be related to other products. So that opens the door up to everything in my mind. And what's weird is the article we just talked about, this says Tesla also has a partnership with Octopus Energy, which I did not catch this when I read this article in the UK. Tesla also has a partnership with Octopus Energy in the UK for special electricity rates for owners, so Tesla is tied to the last article that you and I just talked about, which I think this is the future of the electric system. I think Bailey, my daughter's electrical engineer for utility up in Tennessee. I think her career, she's going to see a massive change, and the electric system as we know it will end up changing like everything else in our lives. I mean, I think back 20 years ago, we didn't have cell phones, and there was, we book everything on phones. I sent Taylor, my daughter, I sent her airline tickets today, a link to airline tickets. I mean, even 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff we weren't doing. It's going to be interesting to see where this leads with the batteries.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the fact that they're capturing this data and offering an incentive is probably to gain additional understanding on what really would need to be generated at a residential level, and probably on a similar aspect doing the same for commercial and industrial with that portability in mind.
When you start talking about green power, we think about solar and wind, but batteries, I think, are going to get in the passing lane and pass both of those at some point to where they're going to get down, possibly to the neighborhoods, you think, and to the homes, you think? Or no? You think it's going to get to that?
Absolutely. And I think we'll probably see that within the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's very eye-opening with what the future holds for batteries. There is right now the largest battery storage facility is in Australia. I think it was built in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And you and I found another article about battery storage that, again, guess who's going to build it?
I think we all know.
I'll give you one guess.
Tesla.
Yep. And they're going to build it in California, and looks like it's in Southern Cal Edison's territory. Exactly what town it was. Do you remember?
It was in Southern Cal Edison's territory in Ventura.
Yeah, Ventura. And this battery storage facility that they are building in Southern California is 3 times larger than the largest battery storage facility now in the world. 3 times larger.
Larger in capacity. It has 3 times the energy capacity, not necessarily larger in space.
Right. I think it's actually a fraction of the size of the one in Australia, if I read the article correctly.
That's how I understood it as well. Yeah, and what's cool about it is it looks like it's a container. It almost looks like a container that you could put on a ship or on a rail car.
Yeah, it looks like, if you look at the picture of it looks like it may be a 3D model of the facility. I mean, it's just a big field that has shipping containers in it with batteries inside. It's very cool, but it's I don't know, it's very eye-opening to see what's going on in the world of batteries, because what's the guy who owns Tesla?
Elon Musk.
So here in Florida, we're 50 miles or so from the coast, from Cape Canaveral, where NASA has its home, where we launched and put a man on the moon, in the late 60s, and the space shuttle program, and lots of rockets and things launched from the coast. But here in the last 5 years, I don't know the percentages, but 2/3 of our rocket launches in the last few years have all been launched by SpaceX, which is a Elon Musk company. And it seems like this guy has both feet on the gas with technology, with, not only the space industry and the rockets and everything he's doing in that arena, but also it looks like he is putting his effort and time and money into battery storage as well. And I think he's going to give utilities across the world a run for their money.
Recently, I listened to Elon Musk's interview from the Air Warfare Symposium. And what I found really interesting was when he was asked the question about how does he make decisions on who he's going to hire? How does he vet out his talent? His response was that he wasn't really necessarily concerned about where they went to school, where their previous work history was. What he asks is, what's something exceptional that you've done? In the interviews, he wants to hear about really what outstanding activity or what's exceptional that somebody has done. With that, he talked heavily about being innovative and using the carrot and the stick. Are we rewarding being innovative and taking on a certain amount of risk, accepting failure? Or are we rewarding that complacency and playing it safe? What I think has worked well with both of his companies, actually all three started Solar City, was having that mindset that it's okay to have some degree of failure, because that's going to put you ahead by welcoming that innovation and taking that risk.
Yeah, I think that when someone like that comes into the electrical industry, the utility, that it's the culture change is going to be such on a grand level, or it's going to be on a, what's the word I'm looking for?
I think what you're trying to say is changing the way that we always have done it.
Yeah. I think when he partners with electric utilities, that it's really going to force the electric industry to change how we've always done it. Because you and I both have heard in our careers, I mean, you've been in the business a long time as well, that we've always done it this way, and we're going to have to think outside the box to be able to survive and stay competitive. I think just the 3 articles that I have mentioned today have really opened my eyes to what the future holds for the electric utility industry.
Yeah, I have as well. It's exciting, and I definitely want to be part of that. I'm working at a utility myself, and I think that hardest part of acceptance is just changing the way we've always done it.
Yeah, I totally agree. It makes me want to look for college courses on battery storage now and see if that's a possibility. I don't know. Am I too old to go back to school?
Never too old.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you jumping on here at the last minute. I know I gave you like a 5-minute notice. You read the articles. As I mentioned earlier, ironically, you and I have been talking about this anyway, because I mentioned the articles to you, but you have been you've been talking about this whole battery storage thing for a long time, and so I'm excited to see where this takes the business, and I think that we will see a different electric utility system in the next 5 to 10 years for sure. What do you think?
I think so. I agree with you, Penny, and I just really appreciate having this opportunity. I know Kim's shoes are hard to fill behind, and I appreciate the listeners hanging in there through this episode.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you helping me out today, and we'll see all of you next week. Take care. We'll talk to you later.